Katie here. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be for my series Let's Talk About It. And we're going to talk about Disney fan theories. So I have gotten these series off of Reddit. This is possibly a multiple part video. We'll see. This first video is going to be all about like Encanto theories. And then the other videos will be about more different movies. So the first fan theory is Camilo's possible branches in his power. It says, in Encanto, I started to think that Camilo's gift can be even more useful than what anyone can think of. If we remember at the dinner scene, when Camilo is told about the vision, he starts to quickly shapeshift and has a derpy and funny-looking face. Upon seeing this, I started to think, is it possible for Camilo to make an original face? Of course, Camilo in the song Welcome to the Family is quoted as Camilo shapeshifts. Shapeshifts is somehow broad. It is possible that if he developed his powers, he might be able to shift his body and face until he lands upon a very original and new face that nobody has seen. And I also thought, if Camilo can shapeshift to anyone, can he also get their traits? To expand on this, let's quickly go to Luisa. Luisa's gift is strength, and with it we get a huge girl with pecs that can rival the Rocks, but why does she? I mean, they could have just easily let Luisa have the body of Isabella and yet have super strength, but why is she buff? And it says, aside from the animation team fighting to have buff women in Disney movies. It might be because her body has to adapt to her gift. To explain further, another example I can give is the Flash. The Flash is the fastest man alive, yet he has to eat so many calories per day just to have the nutrients he needs to survive. Now we can use this logic on the Madrigals. Dolores' body, or specifically her ears, would be more sensitive to sound and can hear better than most humans. Isabella, considering her affinity to plants, might have a good immune system which makes her less affected by plant poisons or isn't affected by allergies or hay fever. Julieta, considering her affinity to healing, might have a stronger immune system than normal, which makes her stronger against diseases to normal humans. I believe Peppa has the same characteristics as Julieta too, considering she is mostly exposed to rain and hail if she feels emotions, and any normal person would get sick if placed under the rain for a while. And with Antonio and his affinity to animals, he may be more immune to animal-borne diseases, such as bird flu, rabies, and just like his mother, must have a strong immune system, considering he is surrounded by animals that can poop a lot in his room. And for Bruno, I think it would be gut feeling or the fight or flight response and his reflexes onto potential danger. Camilo might be able to get these attributes if he were to shapeshift into the other Madrigals. He may not get their gifts, but the characteristics of their bodies that shaped around their gifts. So, I know there was something that was said by one of the writers of Encanto that when Camilo shifts, he does not get the gift. Like, if he were to shift into Luisa, he does not get her super strength. He just gets her look. But this is kind of a little bit different. This is characteristics shaped around their gifts. I mean, it's an interesting theory. But I don't think the writers really thought about that. I don't think it's something that they probably considered because it's kind of out there. It's out there in a way that they probably didn't need to know that information for Encanto. Now, if we were to get a sequel, hopefully, fingers crossed, that might be something they have to look into and kind of create. So, I mean, that's an interesting theory. Another theory is the candle is a curse. The candle works like a malicious genie, granting what initially seems like amazing gifts and likely aligns with something each person really wants, but in a way that ensures they will be emotionally unhappy. The miracle isn't prophetic, so it doesn't know the ultimate endgame, only that it selects a power that, under the current family structure, is likely to result in additional emotional duress and make the family unhappier. To begin with the why, it's only implied that Abuela and Abuelo were refugees running from injustice. Given that it's only Abuela's retelling, it's possible that they were being chased for something horrible they did. The miracle raised mountains to trap them. Starting with the first generation of kids, Julieta, she's the linchpin in this theory. Literally, she ensures that any emotional suffering will be prolonged by making it impossible to die as long as she can force food in someone's mouth. She's constantly worried about others' emotional health, but has zero ability to influence it, only to keep them alive to suffer. Thinking to how she got this gift, it's easy to see how a child would want to help others by curing them, but wouldn't consider the limitations of only being able to address their physical ailments. Bruno, pretty obvious how his gift negatively impacts him and the rest of the family. He only sees bad things coming, and only in such a cryptic way to make it nearly impossible to address. Again, twisted gift logic. Plenty of people want to see the future, but seeing only cryptic versions of negative outcomes is clearly shown to not be a positive gift. Peppa, again, this one seems pretty obvious. She spends basically the whole movie managing her gift from causing negative consequences. Again, it's easy to see a child wanting to control the weather, but she's hardly Thor. Her limitations to her ability to actually control it make it simply a curse. Dolores, for such a useful gift, there isn't even an attempt in the movie to show an upside to being able to hear everything. Clearly, it's a linchpin for unhappiness, especially combined with her inability to keep a secret. Again, it makes sense why a child would wish to be able to hear everything, particularly in a house with as many secrets and hushed whispering. Louisa, there was a whole song on how being physically strong is destroying her emotional state, particularly with Abuela pushing a "we must do everything for the town" philosophy without protecting her family's emotional well-being. And again, easy to see this as something a child would want. Isabella, again, easy to see why a child would want to control flowers / be perfect, and there is a whole song on how the pressure of the situation is destroying her. Antonio, there is very little benefit the animals ever provided for the family, but there were a few times where they were in the way. We don't have long with Antonio with his gift, but it's likely that his gift, like Bruno's, would end up driving the rest of the family mad. Camilo, he is constantly annoying the rest of the family with his gift. The only useful benefit of it is shown as his ability to get taller when necessary and entertain when he wants. Given the dynamics of the family, lack of trust, general teenage proclivities, this was likely just about to get really bad. Augustine and Felix, they are probably the happiest people in the family besides Mirabel, but according to this theory, the curse wouldn't really apply to them. Mirabel. That of course leaves us with, why didn't Mirabel get a gift? The easy answer is that the dynamic that created added more stress and emotional turmoil than giving her a gift would have. But going further, I think Mirabel really wanted everyone to be happy, because that's the one thing the curse was attempting to prevent. There really wasn't a gift to give her that related to that, which would undermine it. The house falling apart and the magic failing is a crucial part of the curse. After setting everyone up to make themselves unhappy, ultimately the whole situation is driven towards inevitably destroying the family. That's accomplished in the scene where Mirabel and Abuela fight, the house is destroyed and the candle is lost. At that point, the curse is over, as they are as unhappy as possible. Rebuilding the house, and more importantly, achieving emotional happiness with each other despite all of this, blows up the whole situation. The magic of the curse literally can't handle it, at which point it actually is a blessing. I can see how, in a way, the candle could be a curse. I've actually thought of that myself. Like, the gifts are a blessing and a curse. They're really like, it's a catch-22 to have a gift. But the thing that really kind of threw me off was in the beginning of this, where they said, given that it's only Abuela's retelling, it's possible that they were being chased for something horrible they did. But they weren't the only ones getting chased. I can't remember, but I think I remember seeing something about how this Encanto was around, like, based around the same time as, like, a war or, like, something where being chased out of a town would be, you know, something that happened during that time. But besides that, I mean, I can see, I don't necessarily agree with everything that this person has said. I do agree with the fact that the candle is a blessing. It is a curse, but I also think it is a blessing. And I do feel like all of their gifts do have ways of making them miserable. This is another theory. Has Mirabel actually doomed the entire Encanto at the most climatic part of the movie way before it even ends? Hello guys, this may sound like clickbait for everyone, but hear me out. If both Casita and the huge mountains were created by magic and are continued to be supported by the same magic for over 3 generations last, shouldn't the mountains have to crumble the same way the Casita does when the candle loses its flame and literally ended everyone's lives at the climactic part of the film? That took a dark turn, yeah. Do you guys remember the recollection part of Abuela in the movie, where from their old home they leave through the forest to escape from their pursuers, cross over the river in which Abuela's husband, Pedro, stayed behind and unfortunately dies, following then where Abuela was blessed by magic? You see, there were 3 things that happened at that time. Abuela was given a miracle through the candle, Casita, the Madrigal's home, was made, and the last thing that I think everyone maybe didn't pay much attention to is when towering mountains suddenly emerged from the ground, securing Abuela and the whole town from their pursuers, but also keeping them hidden in the mountains for 50 years. The thing that bothers me while watching the film is not possible incest that may or may not be happening within the film, but how it works on structure. You know, like Casita and, of course, the humongous mountains. This means that the mountains are not created by nature, but by magic, the same way how Casita was made. It's not like mountains have spare hills hiding 4 feet under, waiting to be pulled out by some miracle. I first focus on how magic works in creating physical form, because that's the primal condition that takes place when the humongous mountains appeared. My main lead for this one is Isabella's miracle, which is to make flowers and plants, which she makes from nothing and doesn't disappear once created. Matt Pat notes this in the latest Encanto theory, where Abuela sweeps the flowers from her earlier conversation with Abuela, proving that at most suggests to me that things that are created by magic stay and remain in existence. This is also supported by Casita in the movie, wherein when it was first created, it appears out of nowhere, but when the magic that holds it together disappears, it didn't fade away, it crumbles down. Which means, at some point in the story, when Abuela and Mirabel had an argument, causing the candle to lose its flame, it should have affected not just Casita as it crumbles, but also the mountains that protect them from unwanted intruders to cause a huge landslide, burying them in the process. So my thoughts on this is that possibly the mountains are obviously much bigger than Casita. What if during the time that Casita crumbled, the mountains cracked slightly, or they opened in a way where that maybe they just didn't realize it. The people didn't realize it because there was so much else going on. Maybe it was silent, just magic. But what if they opened up just the tiniest bit? And that's where Encanto 2 comes in, where people are actually coming in from the outside because of that crack. I think that would be a cool way for them to go for Encanto 2. But yeah, there's a lot of big words in that theory. and I don't really understand what they're saying, besides the fact that the mountains should have crumbled when Casita crumbled. Which, yeah, it makes sense, but I don't know if that's something that the writers necessarily thought about. This one, Mirabel gave herself a miracle and gift. I'm going to focus this primarily on the song sung by Mirabel, as it's heavily covered in her song. In Waiting on a Miracle, sung by Mirabel, if you pay close attention to the song, every single wish she has while seemingly singing to the candle or Casita happens through her journey. So she longs for and wishes for some kind of gift or miracle, and then she manifests in some way. Even if it's the candle or the house granting the wish, it's only after this that it happens. It's worth noting that she only received exactly what she personally wished for. So as I see it from her song, her gift is change. The change to let her family be seen and free to be something else. She's the butterfly that when she finally comes out and spreads her wings, so can her family under her changed view of their world and their gifts. Here's a breakdown from the song. All I need is a change, all I need is a chance. This is what she gets trying to save the house/miracle. All I know is I can't stay on the side, open your eyes, open your eyes, open your eyes. She forces her abuela to see them all differently, to open her eyes. I would move the mountains. The mountains crack and move during the fights when she tries to make her abuela see. The ground breaks open under her as she pushes for change. Make new trees and flowers grow. When her and Isabella argue, Isa starts making new trees and flowers and plants she's never made. Someone please just let me know, where do I go? I am waiting on a miracle. She's guided to Bruno's vision, and the house shows her the cracks that no one else sees at song's end that lead her on her path. I would heal what's broken, show this family something new. When her and her abuela learn to understand each other, it heals the family and they're able to start anew. She changes her family dynamic with this. Who I am inside, so what can I do? I'm sick of waiting on a miracle, so here I go. I am ready. Come on, I'm ready. I've been patient and steadfast and steady. Bless me now as you blessed us all those years ago when you gave us a miracle. Am I too late for a miracle? The candle flickers and then gives her the vision of the cracks, starting her journey to her gift of change. So impressive that Disney's Encanto captured the entire story in one song, including that abuela had to change for the miracle to happen. To think that anyone put this much detail into a song just amazes me. Give it a listen and watch the movie with this theory in mind. It really made it all the more powerful for our family because Mirabel isn't a passive child. She's actually making her own destiny and helping her family at the same time. Those were her goals all along. Wow. That's like a great connection. That's like, and it's true. Now that I'm like thinking about it, that's so true. Everything, like how the song matches the movie. I mean, wow. I think that's a great theory. This is my theory for an Encanto sequel. I have this theory that Disney may make an Encanto sequel down the line, and it has to do with all of the family's powers. The militia will find their way to the Encanto, enslaving all of the townsfolk and capturing Abuela as their prime hostage due to her connection with the magic/Abuela Pedro, the only man to stand up to them. Mirabel will rally the Madrigals as the new matriarch. Casita will become mobile. Says not sure yet, but I'll think of something. Then to rescue the townsfolk, she'll put her family's powers to use. Julieta will be in charge of fixing injuries to the family/rescued townsfolk. Bruno will be able to see the enemy's every move, allowing them to be several steps ahead at all times. He will also use his connection to the rats to spread disease and unrest amongst the militia. The rats, of course, clean themselves thoroughly before returning to the Madrigals. Peppa will master her control over the elements, creating a truly magnificent set of storms to make their victory a sure thing. Dolores will be recon as she can hear enemies' plans from a mile away. Camilo will disguise himself as soldiers, even high-ranking officers, in order to infiltrate and confound the enemy. He will be the main rescuer of the townsfolk, along with his father and Augustine, who will pose as escaped prisoners. Isabella will create traps, snares, anything to injure and harm the soldiers, ranging from beautiful yet poisonous flowers to thorny brambles that grow seemingly out of nowhere, and even carnivorous plants that consume the soldiers. Luisa will be heavy artillery, launching boulders into camps and cutting supply lines with the flick of her pinky. Antonio will command legions of wild animals that follow his every order to distract, injure, maim, and kill soldiers. All of this will be led by Mirabel, of course, who helps her family to recognize their powers to the fullest, all because of her loving and calming demeanor and her family's willingness to follow her after she saved the magic, restoring their gifts and giving them the confidence to be their best self. Okay, that would be an amazing movie, and it's actually something that I've thought of myself. This isn't my theory, what I just read, but it's actually something that I've thought of myself, because when my family was talking about Encanto, we talked about how are the gifts really helpful, if the Encanto, all of that, if it wasn't a thing. And, I pointed out a couple of these exactly. But my thing is I think it's too dark for Disney. I don't know. Because of the success of Encanto, especially with younger children, I don't think they would do something like this. As much as the adults would love it, I don't think it would go over too well with the kids, because then it's oh, they're murderers. I think they should do an Encanto 18+, where they do this, or an Encanto After Dark, where they do this movie. I would love to see that. And imagine this as a live action. That would be freaking awesome. I love this theory. I wish it would be Encanto 2, but my thoughts is it probably is not going to be. And if it is, it's not going to be as cool as it could be. The next one is Mirabel from Encanto's Power, shown 25 minutes in. So I'm on my second watch of Disney's Encanto, and I believe the question of what Mirabel's gift is shown and sing about in Waiting on a Miracle. Bouncing around a bit, but Abuela isn't shown to have any magic powers, but was gifted the house. To add to this, her room is a normal-sized room, as seen when she exits the room during the family madrigal song, so it can be assumed the house is Abuela's gift for the purpose of keeping family madrigal together. As the family falls apart under the pressure to perform magic instead of just loving one another, the house and mountains that protected the land begin to break and everyone loses their magic. In showing Abuela her wrongdoings, Abuela remembers why she was given the gift of the house and land in the first place, and the land begins the healing process. She's the glue that keeps everyone together, but she's had this gift for 50 years and can't live forever. After the house is rebuilt, Mirabel is the one to add the doorknob that brings the house back to life. Mirabel's gift is to become the new Abuela. She even loved Bruno when no one else would. Back to Waiting on a Miracle, the song is nothing but foreshadowing, as we talked about in that one theory. Where was I? She sings of all the things she can't do, but she's to become the reason everyone else can do what they can. She stands in front of Abuela's door singing Open Your Eyes, which was a problem for Abuela, then immediately sings how she would move the mountains, which she essentially has the power to do, all while the mountains that the candle created are shown in a magical golden glow. When she sings Where Do I Go, the house magically appears in front of her. She then sings about healing what's broken, the family, and showing the family something new. Abuela was the first to be gifted, so it had never been seen who gets her power after until now. Then she literally sings Who I Am Inside as she circles past Abuela, who she's set to become. The song ends with her asking to be shown her miracle, and the house rattles and breaks. The doors and the candle flickers, but only she can see it because the house is her gift. It's just a theory, but I'm feeling pretty confident about the fact that they showed us her gift 25 minutes into the movie. I agree. I feel like, in a way, Mirabel is set to be the new Abuela, the candle holder, the matriarch of the family when Abuela dies. But I also agree with one of the previous theories that said that Mirabel's gift is change. So yeah, I can agree with that. Another one is, Encanto is Alma's perspective about how parents view their children, grandchildren, and how pain and aging affects that. The story communicates how parents view their children. Alma sees her offspring as having special powers. Julieta is a good cook that makes everyone feel better. She heals people. Peppa is very emotional. She practically controls the weather. Bruno is clever and wise and weird is because he can see the future. The movie shows what things look like to parents. Your children are superheroes. The people that marry into the family are either silly love boats or accident-prone dorks. Not superheroes, but we are okay with them. Grandchildren, turn it up another notch. How does all this relate to Mirabel? Upon leaving toddlerhood, Mirabel's compassionate nature, compassion equals to suffer with someone, comes to fore. Who is the most compassionate person in this story? Pedro. He is sacrificial, and Alma begins to see that in Mirabel. This pain snaps Alma out of her superhero rose-colored glasses, so much so that she can't even think about Mirabel. She can't fit Mirabel into her story of superheroes, so Mirabel doesn't get a door in her story. Only upon acknowledging that Mirabel's compassion and its reminder of Pedro's sacrifice are gifts, not painful flaws in the story, does Alma give Mirabel the door, thus bringing harmony to her story again. This sort of magical realism is a way to communicate what being a grandparent is like to someone who isn't, because without magical language you won't understand. Alma is healed, the story is healed, when she sees another caterpillar in Mirabel that reminds her of her old caterpillar, now butterfly, that she will reunite with after going their separate ways. She need only wait to cross that River Jordan herself. Yeah, I'm not a grandmother, I'm not even a mother, but, that does make sense. And yeah, Mirabel does, she is a lot like Pedro. So that makes sense. And it also makes sense why Abuela is so... She pushes Mirabel away, not because she didn't get a gift, but because she reminds her so much of Pedro that it hurts. I understand that. That is a good theory. Casita is the soul of Abuela Pedro. This is also something that I've thought of before. While all the family members are lovable and great characters, the most underrated and emotional character is Casita. I rarely see people acknowledge how alive the house is outside the context and question of Mirabel's possible gift. Not only does she talk to it, but it reacts to her and the rest of the family. It has a full personality and clearly loves its inhabitants and community. It shows off for the people at Antonio's ceremony, plays with the village kids, gently scolds/taps Camilo when he's messing around, and follows Abuela's directions at the breakfast table while secretly trying to assist Mirabel in her quest to find Bruno. And more notably, even when the house is crumbling, it uses what's left of its magic to protect all the madrigals, softening Camilo and Isabella's fall when their powers fail mid-leap, weakening the wall so Bruno can easily break through and escape, and using its broken pieces to cover Mirabel and shield her from the debris just before pushing the whole family out to safety as it collapses on itself. Its final act is to basically wave goodbye to them. That scene was one of the more emotionally charged to me and felt like watching a character give its life for others, mirroring how Pedro sacrificed his life to give his family and the other villagers a chance to escape. The same Pedro that was shown to possess a gentle playfulness and strong protective instinct in Abuela's flashback. When Mirabel unites the family and the magic returns, Casita springs to life and is brighter than ever, exuding happiness. It celebrates with them, even sets up the camera and moves them all together to include itself in their photo. Casita isn't just a living magical house, but is their actual family member. The candle may be the catalyst of the powers, but Casita is the soul of their abuela living on, and Mirabel is clearly his favorite grandchild. I agree with that. I mean, this person has said it way better than I have ever said it, but yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Abuela was sacrificed, and Abuela was given this house that's alive, and it's very much like Abuelo. So, I mean, totally makes sense. I totally support that theory. This one is actually, Mirabel does have a gift, and hers is the most important of all. Disney's Encanto revolves around the magical family, all of whom have been given gifts by a magical candle, and they use these gifts in aid of the community that has grown around their casita. All that is, except Mirabel, whose gift never materialized and whose door disintegrated the moment she touched it. Her lack of magic makes her feel like an outcast, and she is certainly treated that way by a lot of her family. That's the premise of the film anyway. But actually, there is one other Madrigal who doesn't have a gift, Abuela Alma. And despite that, Abuela triggered the Madrigal's miracle in the first place, and her role as matriarch of the Madrigals is completely unchanged. But when she dies, who's going to take her place? The candle doesn't make you immortal, after all. Abuela's death will create a huge power vacuum that really any one of her children may try to fill, potentially resulting in chaos and the end of the Encanto. So that's where Mirabel comes in. She doesn't have a gift like the rest of her family, but she does bring out the best in all of them, and her lack of power ensures that she is subjected to the worst of Abuela's wrath, so she won't ever repeat her mistakes. Even while Abuela is still with us, we see Mirabel helping her cousins and especially her sister's mental health, patching the cracks which Abuela's towering expectations and often unfeeling devotion to the miracle create. She helps Luisa lay down her burdens, and Isabella break free from the pressure Abuela puts her under. She brings Bruno back to the family and even helps Camila find love, where Abuela only saw material gain. I'm not sure where that part is. And Mirabel's status as a future head of the Madrigals also explains why she doesn't have a door. She and Abuela are the only two Madrigals with the same gift, so in a way they share a door. When Abuela eventually dies, her door will become Mirabel's, and in this way the family will continue without a power struggle, the title of family head being deliberately bestowed upon one or another child. That makes sense. That is something I never thought about. When Abuela dies, what does her room turn into? The door might turn into Mirabel. We never know. Okay, this is the last Encanto theory that we're going to be talking about in this video. And this is based around superheroes and Disney. It says, okay, so Encanto was set sometime during the Thousand Days War. That's the war I was thinking about earlier, by the way, which was between 1899 and 1902. Every direct descendant of the Madrigals receives a gift from their home. Obviously, this house can only be so big, and after 100 years or so, there would definitely not be enough room for everyone in the Madrigal family tree, or else that house would encompass all of Colombia. I believe after years and years, these children start to be born with powers instead of a gifting ceremony, and this is where we get the superheroes we see in The Incredibles. All these heroes are somehow related to the original Madrigals. I mean, I think it's a decent theory. I don't really think it's true. Because, I mean, Casita is magical after all, and it could just grow. It could grow up. It could grow out. You know, and as people die, you know, the rooms will become non-existent or whatever happens. We don't know. I don't really know if I agree with that theory, to be quite honest, but it is interesting. So, yeah, that is the end of this video. I will be doing a part 2 with the other Disney theories, not Encanto theories, but other Disney movie theories. What are your guys' opinions? What theory that we talked about do you feel is the most truthful? Or which one do you believe the most? Oh, excuse me. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.